Hello, everyone. My name is Bernadette Smith. My pronouns are she, her, and I am joined today with Daniel Downer. Daniel, will you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Downer. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a associate facilitator with the Equality Institute.
Thanks for joining me today, Daniel. So I am CEO of Equality Institute, and every week I get on LinkedIn Live with a special guest, and we talk about 5 things that I consider to be good news, good vibes, something that's inspiring, generally related to diversity, equity, and inclusion or corporate social responsibility somehow. And those stories actually originate in the 5 Things newsletter, which goes out on Saturday mornings. If you don't already get 5 Things, you can subscribe at the link at the bottom here, theequalityinstitute.com/join. We bring good vibes every Saturday. It's because there's so many stories out there that focus on what's going wrong, on the negativity, and that's just not my vibe. It's not. I'm a silver lining seeker, and I like to be around that kind of energy. So that's what I bring to the newsletter. That's what I like to bring to the show. So thank you for joining me today, joining Daniel and I. So Daniel, I think you know this, but last week my book came out, Inclusive
Yeah.
360. And there you go. You got yours in the mail. And on Tuesday was my official book launch, and I had a special launch party here on LinkedIn and a few other places. And as part of the launch party, I had some special guests who I've known, many of whom I've known for quite a few years, people whose colleagues, whose work I admire, who've always had my back. And one of the questions that I asked them was, what right now is giving you hope related to diversity, equity, and inclusion? So I guess, Daniel, let me start with you, since you didn't actually get that question before. What is giving you hope right now related to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Oh wow. I feel like there's so many things, Bernadette, that are giving me hope. I think that the amplification around diversity, equity, and inclusion within the last year gives me hope. For many of us who've been doing this work for a long time, it's not new to us, but I feel that DI kind of became a new catchphrase within the last year. So seeing that there being more conversations that individuals, communities, businesses, organizations are having around what is diversity, what is equity, what's inclusion, but not only conversations around what it is, but how can we be meaningfully diverse, meaningfully equitable, meaningfully inclusive, really honestly gives me hope. And then even on a more personal level, working with the Equality Institute and the clients that we work with, and having these conversations with them, and seeing the light bulbs go off and the
Mhm.
dots be connected really gives me hope that we really are moving towards having a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive landscape.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, actually, because I had a LinkedIn request just last night from someone who attended one of my sessions. I think the session was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Um, and he sent me a LinkedIn message and thanked me. He said it was excellent. He said that he's rewatched the video a few times. So, and this is an ally, right? And
Yeah.
so that brings me a lot of hope, right? The impact that we're making in the work that we're doing, it's working. And it's fantastic to get that kind of feedback, because it's it's not always easy doing this work, and it's good to get the validation that it's sticking. So thank you for sharing that, and
Yeah.
I'm thrilled, so happy you're on the team.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be a part of the team. And then I like what you were saying, because I I think, whenever we have whenever you have a conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, it could go one of two ways. It can go where it's like really bubbly, or it can go one to where like individuals want to avoid it because sometimes it can be uncomfortable, right? Like it can be uncomfortable having to be vulnerable and transparent and saying, maybe there's just a few little things that I need to work on as an individual or my organization. And so what I love what we do at the Equality Institute is we really lead from what I like to call like a love centered standpoint and a positive centered standpoint, where it's, not a call out, but it's a call in to celebrate the things that so many individuals do right when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and then also to call in how we can help them improve some of those areas that they want to turn from improvement areas into strength. So I also think that's really, 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 really special.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely like to. I don't like to lead with fear. I like to lead with aspiration and with
Yeah.
hope. So thanks for acknowledging that. Okay, so one of my guests last week was Jennifer Brown, who's CEO of Jennifer Brown Consulting, author of her most recent book is called How to Be an Inclusive Leader. And what gives Jennifer hope is that finally having a real conversation within organizations, that it feels different now. Jennifer's been doing this work longer than I have, so she has a longer perspective on this. And she says our threshold has changed radically in the past year and a half. Even if it's hard, I'm feeling that there's an openness and a willingness for that, whereas before there was an avoidance. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's absolutely true. You've probably seen it. And I think everyone is seeing it. But I don't work internally, so I'm not sure exactly what those conversations are like on the inside. But I know that there's an awful lot of people reaching out to us because they know that they need to do better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I can speak a little bit to the internal standpoint from, being the executive director of a community based organization, and how those internal conversations are happening around from things as far as is our board and our leadership reflective, right? Diversely reflective, right? But then also, are we making sure that we are really upholding pay equity, right? So then that when we're looking at the pay that we are giving our staff, is it equitable? Is it not enough for them not only to survive on, but to live on? How we are looking at uh, the allocation to diversity, equity, and inclusion training? Is this something that we really are intentional about being a part of the fabric of our organization, or is this something that's one off? And so I think having those internal conversations are really important, really necessary, and can really help transform your organization, your business, you as an individual in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've definitely been on that journey myself as a leader and growing my company. All of those things are part of what I consider. So I that makes a lot of sense to me. And again, I'm just glad that it's true. Cherie Coleman, who's president of the Illinois Diversity Council, shared that the bar has been raised from awareness to activism. One shift she's really seen is associates leveraging their expectations, and then organizations are listening and responding accordingly. But it's the associates with the power. I mean, when there's a labor shortage like there is now, it's couldn't be more true. They do have the power. I mean, even retail associates are getting unheard of benefits that are and pay that they weren't getting before. And that's really impressive to me that, employees have, I guess maybe it's not impressive, it's just they've reached this point of realizing that they have power. And I don't think there's any turning back.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great.
no,
It's
I
great.
think it's, yeah, I think, I think back on how um, one my HR manager, when they're conducting interviews with prospective employees, and one of the things that I love that they do is when they're having the interview, they always talk about how this is an amicable mutual relationship, right? This isn't us doing you a favor as an employer by giving you a job. This is an exchange, right? And it's something that's mutual. And so it's really good to kind of see that permeating outside of, just like the racial and social justice space, to where it's permeating over into for-profit businesses throughout our nation and throughout our world, because it is an amicable relationship, right? And businesses and corporations and entities are only as strong as their workforce, right? So yeah, I'm really excited that individuals are, even outside of that, just realizing the value and the worth that they have in the world.
Absolutely. That's true. That's true. There's a lot of self-empowerment going on, which is it's very cool to see as well. Jeremy Holston, who is the executive director of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois, he shared that we're seeing a great commitment from corporations and how they're being committed externally. So that previously companies had been thinking of DEI as an internal thing, as an HR thing, and now a lot more companies are making commitments to being involved in terms of how local communities are supported, how dollars are invested. I mean, there are examples of things like Netflix moving a lot of their investments into Black owned banks, for example, which are more likely to support Black owned businesses in lower income neighborhoods. So, that's an equitable piece. And
Yeah,
it doesn't really it's not costing Netflix anything to shift their money over, but
yeah.
the rewards are significant. So I think that's a great example of how it's playing out externally.
Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful example of just how in a simple way you can really support meaningful diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of times, individuals, or we may think like it's this big grand scheme of things, but no, it's something as simple as maybe supporting, like you said, minority-led businesses, whether that's for a simple catering at your event or
Mhm.
creation of content and graphics, because what we know is that many minority led based businesses pour back into their communities, right? And so being able to support those really helps create a lot more impact within those communities.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, the next up, Rhodes Perry, who's CEO of Rhodes Perry Consulting and author of his upcoming book is called Imagine Belonging. Rhodes shared he was talking about belonging, and if you can feel that consistently as an employee, then that can change your work experience. And Rhodes spends a lot of time talking to people about how belonging actually shows up in the workplace and helping folks get more ahas on how to get there. And he actually has a membership community for DEI practitioners to bounce ideas off each other and support each other on this journey. So that's what's inspiring Rhodes is sort of this kind of grassroots community of practitioners really looking for ways to increase belonging. And I don't know if you've read the book yet, but I wrote belonging as sort of the epilogue at the end, as kind of like the holy grail. If you do the other things, and that is something that's sort of an aspirational piece. And Rhodes has built an entire business around that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have not read the book yet, but I do have my copy, so I am looking forward to being able to dive in. And I would encourage other individuals as well, if they are in love with all things DEI, to definitely check it out.
Do you have any tips that you use within your organization to promote belonging?
I think we are very much person centered at our core. And so that really is kind of like what we lead with in everything we do, wanting to know how everyone is feeling, from the clients we serve to my staff. And so I think that really helps when you have a person, when you use a person centered approach. It really helps individuals to feel like they belong. And one of the things that I love as well that we do is really kind of create opportunities for us to come together as a community, whether that is our clients with staff, whether that's staff within itself. And I think that really helps, as well as creating mechanisms for individuals to share how they feel. I think that really also allows for a sense of belonging.
Sure, I agree. Okay, we are running out of time. Thank you, Tanya, for buying the book. I appreciate it. Couple of other comments here, quotes here. Ruben Alejandro Ramirez from Syngenta. He said that he's seeing a lot of employees. I mean, his company has thousands of employees. He's seeing a lot of employees really very curious about changing behaviors and learning. And beyond that, that leaders are speaking about DEI in their everyday agenda. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it's a global company. It's an international. It's a agricultural agro-tech company, and he's seeing this level of curiosity and commitment, and I think that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I think about locally, my organization being a part of One Orlando Alliance, which is a coalition of 40 plus LGBTQ plus led or serving organizations here in the Central Florida area. And I think about us as well as some other minority led organizations that came together last year and really wanted to encourage the Alliance to be meaningfully diverse, equitable, and inclusive. And so we created a anti-racism scorecard. And so it's been very beautiful to see so many other organizations that may not necessarily have been having conversations around anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion lean in and ask questions like, how am I able to see how diverse my organization is? How am I able to put in place policies to make sure that there is a sense of belonging? And so I think that that really is curiosity is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity, especially when it comes to DI, is a good thing, and so I'm really glad that there are a lot of there's a lot of curiosity around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, final comment is from my partner Heather, who joined us, and she said that she's inspired by the kids. That's what's bringing her hope. We're changing the dynamics, we're changing the rules. There's a generation of kids that don't know now, that don't know the old bad rules, willing to change the dynamic and modeling that behavior.
Yeah,
They inspire me too. It's pretty awesome.
likewise.
They're doing their best and holding us accountable. So that's pretty darn cool that they're empowered to do that.
It is.
Well, friends, people watching, as far as I'm concerned, there's hope and inspiration everywhere, but you kind of have to dig around for it. So it's not always showing up at the top of the feed, but you can get more of it if you follow me. If you follow the newsletter, check us out on LinkedIn Live every week. Thank you so much, Daniel, for
Thank
being a
you.
part of the show. I'll see you tomorrow, but have a great week. Take care.
Have a
Bye,
great week.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.